It's time to lock in. We're talking SEC, college football, and more. This is AP as we see it.
I'm all about that action. I'm all about that action. I'm all about that action. I said I'm all about that action.
Hi, I'm AP Stidham from LA, Lower Alabama. This is AP as we see it, a weekly syndicated show discussing the Southeastern Conference, college football on the national scene, and other sports. Welcome to another episode of AP as we see it. We'd like to direct our audience to our social media platforms, our YouTube channel at AP as we see it, and sometimes I put some things on my personal one at AP Stidham as well. We have the Facebook, the Instagram, the X account, all under AP as we see it, along with my personal one at AP Stidham, and then Spotify. All the episodes are archived on Spotify, so check out our YouTube channel at AP as we see it, and then we're on local stations 20 to 25 around the Southeast. Check your listings. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, they air the 1-hour syndicated show, AP as we see it. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Greer's Markets, 29 locations, Alabama, Florida, Mississippi, serving the Gulf Coast and beyond since 1916. They have Lucy's Famous Recipes. She has a book out. You can purchase that online and in the store as well. Remember, family, friends, and football, that's a winning tradition at Greer's. Game day starts at Greer's, so you can score big savings on fresh meats and produce and more for your game day spreads. They have the groceries to go where they deliver it to your home, the venue of your choice, your office, wherever you may be having that party and that football gathering and sports gathering to watch all these SEC teams compete. Remember now, Apples for Students, it helps the nearby schools. So bring those receipts to the counter so you can register your school. You drop those off and your school will be eligible to receive free supplies. They have the coloring contest for the children, the weekly online ads, and remember, Greer's got it. They guarantee it. We'd also like to make mention of Robertsdale Dental Care. Call 251-947-3636. Dr. Jason Northcutt. Not only are basic services offered by Dr. Jason Northcutt, but he has created and developed a niche within the practice, providing comprehensive dental implant services such as single implants, bone grafting, and full mouth reconstruction. Dr. Jason Northcutt has been highly trained in these disciplines to offer comfortable and long-lasting solutions to major dental problems. So come by and see Dr. Jason Northcutt and his staff are very hospitable. 251-947-3636. They'll take care of all your dental needs, and it's a great place. That's my personal dentist, so I highly recommend Dr. Jason Northcutt and his staff. We'd also like to make mention of the Cortland Grand Hotel, downtown Atlanta, with all the spacious rooms, beautiful pool, indoor pool with the serene tropical setting right in the downtown heart of Atlanta. They have the restaurants and gift shops there, outstanding breakfast, and they have the lounge area as well. Ben Giacomo and his staff are so hospitable. That's where I stay in Atlanta for many SEC events and anytime I'm in the city of Atlanta. So check out the Cortland Grand Hotel, downtown Atlanta. And I know you'll enjoy yourself because it's right there next to all the activities in the heart of Atlanta. So, and once again, just check out our social media platforms, our YouTube channel, Facebook, Instagram, X account, and Spotify. We put all our links on there for all the events and ball games that we cover with the interviews and the photos. And so all the activities we had through this fall so far, you can find those interviews in the links for the YouTube channel on our social media platforms at AP Stidham, at AP as we see it as well. But this week, we're going to start off with the poll, these Football Writers Association of America, National Football Foundation Super 16 poll. I'm a voter, and I always like to give my personal opinion. So this week, I had Ohio State number 1, Indiana number 2, Texas A&M number 3, Georgia number 4, Alabama 5, BYU 6, Oregon 7, Ole Miss 8, Notre Dame 9, Texas 10, Vandy 11, Mizzou 12, Texas Tech 13, Louisville 14, and Virginia, we had, I think, 16. I guess that's what it was. Yeah, I think I had Texas Tech a little bit higher than that, actually. It was right below Notre Dame at 10. Yeah, then followed it on down. But anyway, that was my personal poll. But we also had the college football playoff. This was their first pronouncing of all their potential candidates, the 25 teams that they ranked. So let's go over that as well. And this is just a early indication of the committee's evaluations at this point. And the goal is to pick the best teams in college football. So Ohio State number 1, Indiana number 2, Texas A&M 3, excuse me, Alabama 4, Georgia 5, Ole Miss 6, BYU 7, Texas Tech 8, Oregon 9, Notre Dame 10, Texas 11, Oklahoma 12, Utah 13, Virginia 14, Louisville 15, Vandy 16, Georgia Tech 17, Miami 18, USC 19, Iowa 20, Michigan 21, Missouri 22, Washington 23, Pittsburgh 24, and Tennessee 25. So you'll notice that there are 5 teams from the SEC in the top 12. And we can't forget they have to take the conference outside of the Power 4, the champion. So right now, Memphis was probably in that group at the moment from the American Athletic Conference. So even though you're number 12 at Oklahoma, you could be knocked out by that 5th conference, the conference champion that must be included in this evaluation. You have Vanderbilt, Missouri, and Tennessee in the 16 to 25 category. So you have those 5 conference champions, and the evaluation is based on the strength of schedule, conference champion, of course. You have the head-to-head plus the common opponents results. Like I said, you have Memphis out of the American Athletic Conference. You have the 5 highest ranked conferences there, but you won't get a bye, an automatic bye. You have to be ranked in the top 4 to receive a bye, whereas last year they had the conference champions regardless of their ranking. They ranked the teams first, but then they had the 4 top conference champions receiving the bye. That's been a slight change this year in the procedure and the evaluation process. But anyhow, I don't think you need to get too excited at this moment because all these teams have games that will be played. I mean, Oklahoma has a chance to play their way into this situation. They have to play Alabama. They have to play LSU. Texas is in the same category. They have to play Georgia at Georgia. They have to play Arkansas, and then they have to host Texas A&M. So Texas right now is looking at their chances are hinged on the fact that they probably have to win out. Now, some people are claiming that if they have that 3rd loss, there's potential for an SEC team to earn a berth to be one of the 12 teams with 3 losses. I don't know. I wouldn't rely on that type of scenario, that situation. I'd want to win out if I was Texas and have just the 2 losses. They just have the one within the conference. That was to Florida. They have the very good loss at Ohio State to start the season, 14-7. And believe me, when you look at that ball game and you evaluate Texas, that's tremendous defense to hold that powerful Ohio State team to 14 points. Now they had a first-year starting quarterback, Julian Sam, but we now know that he's completing passes at a record-setting rate of 80%. The former Alabama transfer who plays for the Buckeyes, and then Arch Manning, that was his first game as well. So he went on the road to Columbus, Ohio. That's probably one of the toughest environments to open your career. But that's an excellent loss for Texas, if you can put it in that category. And I think the committee will review that and be very keen in their assessment of that first game that was played on the road. But Texas has still got a good chance. Georgia, and we always say Georgia's the team to beat, I think, still in the SEC. They know how to win. They score a lot of points, as they did in the Tennessee game, came out with the victory on the road, or they have a low-scoring game, as they did against Auburn, being down 10-0 and coming from behind to win with 20 points and shutting out and stifling the Auburn offense that second half, just holding them to 10 points total for the ball game. So, but overall, the SEC is in good stead, I believe, to have minimum 4, possibly 5 teams within the college football playoff. And that's a mighty feat when you have 5 of the 12 teams, 4 of the 12 teams is outstanding as well. But we can see the Big Ten is well represented with Ohio State and Indiana right now in this assessment, Oregon as well. Also from the Big Ten, USC and Iowa, which will play each other soon. And you have Michigan in there and also Washington from the ACC. I think it's going to be very difficult for the ACC to have multiple teams in there. But right now you have Virginia, Louisville, Georgia Tech in there. They're grouped in that 14, 15, and 16. And then Miami, 14 and 15, and then 17, Georgia Tech, 18, Miami, and also Pittsburgh at 24. But anyway, we're going to be right back after these messages with our guest, Mike Craven, the senior writer from Dave Campbell's Texas Football. So we'll be right back after these messages with segment 2 and our guest with another segment of AP as we see it. Hi, I'm AP Stedham for Greer's Markets. If you're planning a big party or for every day, shop at Greer's for delicious food, beverages, and snacks. Save time and money by checking on Greers.com and use Groceries to Go to get your Greer's groceries delivered. Look at the weekly ad for more information. 29 locations in Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi, serving the region since 1916. Remember, Greer's got it. They guarantee it. Hi, I'm AP Stedham with Dr. Northcutt of Robertsdale Dental Care.
AP, not only do we offer basic full-service dental treatment, but I also have developed a niche within the practice where I provide comprehensive dental implant services, such as single implants, bone grafting, and full mouth reconstruction. I've been highly trained in those disciplines to offer comfortable and long-lasting solutions to major dental problems.
Come by and see Dr. Northcutt at Robertsdale Dental Care. And we're back with AP as we see it, in our very special guest, Mike Craven, the senior writer from Dave Campbell's Texas Football, established 1960. Not that Mike was there, but that's when it was established. Welcome to AP as we see it, Mike.
Appreciate the invite, sir. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we had a nice time the other day, Saturday night in Baton Rouge. Texas A&M just came out that second half, and it was the ball game, and they got the coach fired. Not really, but I guess they did. That was the final exclamation point at LSU. So, but Texas A&M got a good-looking football team, Mike.
Yeah, a really good football team. Year 2 under Mike Elko. You know, he's a defensive guy known for what he does on that side of the ball. So we assumed that the defense would get better in year 2. The big thing that has impressed us, I think, is Marcel Reed in that offense. That was the question mark coming in. What would he be as a passer, as the full-time starter? He kind of split time with Connor Wegman last year, but he's played himself into maybe being a Heisman finalist. I think he's 4th in the odds for the Heisman right now. So a complete football team, one of the best in the country, and I think a national title contender.
Yeah, he's very impressive. I mean, you can't catch him, hardly. He's very elusive and has the speed to match, and he seemed to have command and authority in the pocket. Did you see that last year, Mike?
No, I think that was the big question mark. He's always had the athleticism. He could run around in his starts last year. I mean, remember the second half against LSU when he came in from relief with Wegman. He had 3 touchdown runs, but I think he only completed 1 or 2 passes in that second half. And so that was the big question mark coming in here into this season was, could Marcel Reed take a step as a passer? And he's evolved. He's become a better passer. And I think the other thing is A&M has surrounded him with better talent. Casey Concepcion, Mario Craver, those guys are really, really good after the catch. And that's where A&M has killed people in the passing game. It's not vertical 60-yard bombs down the field. It's 5-10-yard routes. And then those guys take it the rest of the way.
The 2 transfers for what is it? North Carolina State. Is that Mississippi State? Is that right, Mike?
Yep.
Yeah. Very good players. Yards after catch for sure. Mike, that defense, they've surrendered some points, but they can be disruptive at times. A couple of 40-point games on the road, Notre Dame specifically, and Arkansas, but they have such a prolific offense. They were able to survive. But like you said, they just have to play enough defense for that offense.
That's true. And they've gotten better and better, specifically at home, but they're one of the best third down defenses in the country. Cassius Howell, a really good, I think he's leading the SEC in sacks with like 9.5. A&M has only given up 7 sacks all year. Cassius Howell has 9.5 himself, right? So like,
oh my gosh. Yeah.
they have an elite pass rusher on the edge. And defensively for Texas A&M, the question mark was along the line of scrimmage. Like they lost Shamar Stewart, Nick Skirton, Shamar Turner, all to the NFL off that defensive line. How are they going to get better by losing those guys? Well, maybe they're not better talent-wise, but they've been more productive. They've gotten more production, more sacks, more tackles for loss on average than they did last year. So a really good front. I think the secondary is probably still a question mark. And in those games against Notre Dame, and in those games against Arkansas, it has reared its head. But if you look at the schedule they still have left, Missouri with a backup quarterback, South Carolina, Texas, I don't know if they're going to see a great quarterback and a great passing game until maybe the SEC championship. So defense has taken a step. Marcel Reed in that offense has taken a step. They're really good on special teams. You know, Concepcion has a touchdown return against Notre Dame, a touchdown return against LSU. So I still think Ohio State's the best team I've seen this year. I was at that Texas-Ohio State game to start the year, but A&M is easily number 2.
Yeah, very good football team. Marcel Reed's got some good numbers, 62%, 17 TDs, 7 interceptions, 6 TDs on the ground, 349 yards rushing, 1,972 yards passing. He's an outstanding Heisman Trophy candidate and other quarterback awards as well. What was the reception when Mike Elko was hired, Mike?
It was weird because they almost hired Mark Stoops. You know, and then there was kind of a revolt of the Board of Regents and on Texags, and that fell through at kind of the midnight hour. That I'll never forget that night because I opened my computer to work 3 different times. You know, you write the story that Mark Stoops is coming, you close your computer, you think you're going to bed, and then it's like Mark Stoops isn't coming. So you write that story, you think you're going to bed, and then it's Mike Elko's coming. I think what was good for Elko is the familiarity with the program. And I don't think I'm speaking out of turn to say Texas A&M is a unique place.
Yes.
They have their traditions. They're very insular. Aggie land, the Aggie spirit, all that stuff is true. And Elko had been there as a defensive coordinator. And when they had the most success under Jimbo Fisher, it was when Elko was the defensive coordinator. And I am of the belief that new coaching hires are kind of like the boyfriend-girlfriend theory, where you date, the next person's always 180 from the previous person that you dated.
Right.
And Jimbo Fisher was flashy. He talked fast. He had the national championship. He could recruit. He was spending money. A&M needed just a normal guy, just a regular dude. And I think they found that in Elko. He doesn't get too high. He doesn't get too low. No. He doesn't buy into a lot of the kind of like Aggie battered syndrome of like, oh, Lucy's going to pull the football away from us. They're just kind of a no-nonsense football team. And they used to make more headlines off the field than they did on it under Jimbo Fisher. Right. Now you never hear about A&M off the field. No. Like it is a professional organization. I think Elko's been the perfect hire.
Right, for sure. We're going to shift gears and go to another area of the country, the University of Texas and Steve Sarkisian. That was a different reception, I think. Was it not, Mike?
It was, and I think Sarkisian was more of a known commodity. Elko had been mostly a defensive coordinator his whole career. He started at like Penn and kind of worked his way up from the FCS ranks and Division III and stuff like that. Sarkisian's always had big jobs. Like I'm 40 years old. I feel like Sarkisian's been a big time coach for like more than half of my life at USC or Alabama or in the NFL. And so he was a no name. He had just come off of a national championship. So yeah, I think when Sark got there, it was a, here we go. We're about to be back type of thing. And they are, they've kind of regained form of what Texas should be probably.
It seems Arch Manning is getting better. I don't know if he's in the outstanding category. I said before the season he probably will be good. I don't know if he's going to make the very good or outstanding category, but he has similar numbers to Marcel Reed, 63%, 18 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 2,100 yards or so. But he's coming on as a passer and a leader, it looks like to me.
I not to make this a bigger conversation, but I feel like we always look at these quarterbacks in a silo. Like Marcel Reed versus an Arch Manning versus Julian Sayin versus Tyson, So like think about what Marcel Reed has that Arch doesn't. That's an offensive line that's probably going to win the Joe Moore Award.
Yes.
We just talked about their wide receivers. They have a run game.
Yes.
I've always wondered how much of those early troubles were about Arch Manning and how much of it was about what was around him. I don't think the offensive line is all that great. They replaced
No, it's not. Yeah.
4 starters coming into the year. They did play well against Vandy. Outside of Ryan Wingo, I don't know how many of those wide receivers are elite kind of SEC caliber guys. The running backs have been hurt with Wisner and Baxter. So it's been kind of all on Arch Manning's shoulders, and he hasn't played great, to your point. But I think as the offensive line has improved and some of those players around him have gotten better, he started to be a good to above average quarterback in the SEC. And with that defense, that may be all Texas needs.
Right. And it's surprising to hear you say and to observe that Texas doesn't have above average talent that's supporting Arch Manning. But I know the offensive line, that's in a developmental stage that Steve Sarkisian, I think he acknowledged. But it's surprising to hear you say and me observe that they don't have top level talent at all times.
And maybe those guys will be, but they're really young. And they didn't have a Jeremiah Smith to show up as a true freshman or a Ryan Williams. Like
you do.
Right. But they did sign a couple 5-star freshmen that I think gave the illusion that maybe they could. And they just, we haven't seen Jamie French and those guys kind of pop up. What I'm curious about, the way that the transfer portal is, I wonder if had Texas not made the semifinals and they had more of an opportunity to kind of look at their roster down the road, if Sarkisian would have noticed hey, we have some holes we need to go fill in the portal.
Right. Yes.
By the time their season was over, I think anybody that could have improved their roster was probably already taken. And so they just kind of punted and they counted on development, and it had worked previously. And I just don't think it's worked to that level this year. Not that they're a bad team. I mean, they're 11th in the poll.
No,
But they don't have an Xavier Worthy or a Bijan Robinson. They don't have those kind of stars on the team right now.
No, they sure don't. They have a tough road to the playoffs, traveling to Georgia soon, and then of course they're hosting Texas A&M, and in Arkansas. They're a wild card because we know that offensively they can score quite a few points, but Texas has an excellent defense. But they gave up the 31. Were you surprised Vanderbilt scored 31?
Not in the way that it happened. It was kind of a fluky 31 in my opinion. Vanderbilt had to go all out. Texas gets into prevent defense, not going to allow big points. And Texas played a lot of games in a row. They're going into a bye game this week.
Right.
They had some injuries in the secondary. Michael Taft's out. Jelani McDonald's injured. And so I think it was just kind of a perfect storm. And, Vanderbilt's a good football team. We kind of caught fire there in the fourth quarter. But I thought it was a more dominant win than the scoreboard suggested at the end.
Mm-hmm. What's going to be success for Texas? Is it playoffs or bust with Sarkisian and that fan base?
I think so. And, Steve Sarkisian has made that point himself, that he has reestablished expectations at Texas, and it should be college football playoffs as the baseline. His expectations is go to win a national championship. He was on the cover of our magazine this year. I sat down with him for about an hour and a half, and he talked openly about, he thinks that they can win a national championship. And that's his goal, is to bring Texas to that point. What I'm curious about is if they make it in at 9-3. Because I think at 10-2, they're in for sure. Because at that point,
so. Yes,
they would have wins over Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, Georgia, A&M. I think they would be in for sure. But at 9-3, let's say they lose at Georgia and then beat Arkansas and A&M. Right. Their 3 losses would be on the road, 2 of them to top 5 teams in Georgia and Ohio State, and their other losses at the Swamp. But then their wins would be Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, A&M. So I think they would have the resume to probably get in there at 9-3.
I think so. Hey, Mike Craven, senior writer, Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Check him out. Mike, we really appreciate it, and we'll be right back after these messages with AP as we see it. Hi, I'm AP Stedham for Greer's Markets. If you're planning a big party or for every day, shop at Greer's for delicious food, beverages, and snacks. Save time and money by checking on Greer's.com and use Groceries to Go to get your Greer's groceries delivered. Look at the weekly ad for more information. 29 locations in Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi, serving the region since 1916. Remember, Greer's got it. They guarantee it. And we're back with AP as we see it, and we'd like to thank our guests in segment 2, Mike Craven, the senior writer, Dave Campbell's Texas Football. We had an outstanding discussion about Texas and Texas A&M. That organization has been established since 1960, and it's something that people have cherished for many, many years, 65 years. But anyhow, we're going to get back to our discussion of the college football poll that came out this week, and Ohio State's at the top. Number 1, Tennessee from the SEC is at 25. Tennessee sitting at 6-3. I don't believe they have a chance unless they accept a team from the SEC with 3 losses, and we know, they lost to Georgia, Alabama, and Oklahoma, all part of this top 25 college football poll that was selected by the 12 members. There's actually 13, but one had to forego this particular season. So there's 12 members on that committee, former football coaches, athletic directors, a member of the media, retired person as well. So that's their listing of the top 25 teams, which we gave you in segment 1. But this week in the SEC, we have 6 games on hand. The teams that have a bye: Arkansas, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Texas. So I guess we should get started with our game number 1 on the schedule. Big ball game in Tuscaloosa for Alabama. They want to continue. They're 7-1, 5-0 in the conference, undefeated, with the double-digit loss the first game down in Tallahassee against the Florida State Seminoles. Alabama's number 4 in the country in the Football Writers National Football Foundation Super 16 poll, and they're number 4 also in the college football poll. They're facing the LSU Bengal Tigers. LSU with the interim coach, Frank Wilson, coaches running backs. He's the interim coach at the present time. 5-3, LSU 2-3 in the conference. This series, it's considered a rivalry, but if you look at the total, it's 57 wins for Alabama, only 27 for LSU, 5 ties. So Alabama's really dominated. I mean, it's been back and forth through probably the last 15 to 20 years, but over time, Alabama has held a significant edge with 57 to 27 in the win column. LSU, we know they struggle on offense, 25 points a game, Alabama 34. And as I look at this game, Alabama's a 10-point favorite. I think that's kind of dangerous, because I think LSU, they're going to come out and they'll be the Fighting Tigers this weekend in Tuscaloosa. I'll be at that ball game. They can't run the football. They're 106 yards a game, 122nd. Alabama's not much better running the football, 118 yards, 114th. Alabama and LSU's defense against the run is 51st. Alabama's at 72nd. They allow 149, LSU 134. So, but I think Alabama, they're primarily a passing team. They rely on Ty Simpson, the Heisman Trophy candidate. He'd be a strong candidate to be at least be present in New York City as one of the finalists, I believe. But Alabama's offense, over 400 yards a game. LSU 355 yards. LSU, pretty good defensive, we said all year, most of the time, especially in the secondary. And then that's Alabama's strength, throwing the football. So if LSU is going to rise to the occasion, it's going to have to be defensively in the secondary. They average 19 points a game on defense. Alabama 18, very similar type defenses. The pass defense for LSU is 31st in the country. Alabama is 12th, so very good there. But Alabama gives up the yards against the run. And Frank Wilson, he's a former running backs coach. I think you're going to see the Tigers try to line up and run the ball against Alabama, even though they haven't been successful. But they had the bye week. They can concentrate on that facet of the game. And I believe that the LSU Tigers will try to run the football against the Crimson Tide of Alabama. Now, Ty Simpson and his receivers, I would say right now, if I had to rate the passing games in America, overall, Ohio State's number 1 with Jeremiah Smith, Julian Sain throwing for completing 80% of his passes, and their other receiver for Ohio State, outstanding. I say this is probably the best passing team in America, and Alabama's right there with them. I think just maybe a slight notch below, but it's definitely high caliber. So I think Alabama, although they would like to run the ball, I just think that it's in their interest to continue with Ty Simpson and those core of receivers that have been very good throughout the year. So Alabama is the 10-point favorite. The coach, Coach Wilson, Frank Wilson, the interim coach, he did mention, somebody asked the question in the teleconference this week, by the SEC coaches about Michael Van Buren, the transfer from Mississippi State. And you might see him take the field in certain situations to replace Garrett Nussmeier. Could be in any part of the field. Coach Wilson discussed that possibility, but he's an active quarterback, dual threat, has experience in the SEC. So I think if I'm Alabama, I am taking a look at some of that film of Michael Van Buren playing quarterback for the LSU Tigers as the transfer from Mississippi State. But Alabama should win this ball game. It means a lot to their playoff hopes, and I don't think they want another conference loss. And they're trying to get also to that SEC championship game to be held in Atlanta. And oh, by the way, I'll be staying at the Cortland Grand Hotel downtown Atlanta. So call them for your reservations, and you'll be satisfied and have a lot of fun while you're watching your team perform in the SEC championship game. Let's go to game number 2, Auburn. We know that Hugh Freeze was relieved of his duties. Not a very good record in the SEC. Offensive guru. Last week, his team scored 3 points against the Kentucky Wildcats, and that was at Auburn, the loveliest village on the plain. The week before, Kentucky gave up 56 points to the Tennessee Volunteers. Now, Auburn all season, the quarterback play has not been worthy, and at SEC in nature, Jackson Arnold, the transfer from University of Oklahoma, was a highly recruited player. When he came to Norman, he was not as successful there. Hit the transfer portal. Hugh Freeze bet all of his money, all the house money and everything on Jackson Arnold. That didn't work out for him, and it was really the demise of his program at that point. Auburn suffering, having a losing season for many years now, and Hugh Freeze, he just wasn't his offense was not productive, and that's his forte. So John Cohen, the director of athletics at Auburn, had to make a change, and I don't know what they're going to do as far as the coaching position. We'll discuss that in our last segment about the term fit, and some of the openings across the country, especially in the SEC. DJ Durkin, the interim head coach, is the defensive coordinator. He's the interim head coach of Auburn right now. This series is, believe it or not, if somebody asks you what is the series record between Auburn and Vanderbilt, you probably win a bet somewhere, but it's 22-22. It's even. Both of those teams have won 22 games in this series, no ties. They're playing at Vanderbilt on the road in Nashville. Vanderbilt's a 6.5 point favorite. They're number 16 in the poll, for the college football poll, and the Football Writers National Association, National Football Foundation Super 16 poll as well. So Vanderbilt coming off the loss to Texas 34-31. That was down in Austin. They're 7-2, 3-2 in the conference. As I said, Auburn coming off the loss at home 10-3 to Kentucky, the Wildcats. Auburn offensively 22 points a game. Vanderbilt 37 points a game. So as I always say in these matchups, when you're the underdog, you're going to have to do something above and beyond your ordinary, your average production. So Auburn needs to play good defense. Auburn's defense, 22nd in the country. If they had an average offense, Hugh Freeze would still be the coach, and they'd be in contention, maybe for the playoff position, possibly. Who knows? But 22 in defense. They only give up 83 yards a game, and that's 9th in the country. They're 76 in the passing, 226 yards. Vanderbilt 17th in the rushing defense, giving up 101, 89th in the passing, but Auburn can't pass the ball. So it doesn't really matter. Vanderbilt's defense is 40th, giving up 334 yards. Auburn has some good numbers in the sack department, 16th in the country, 14th in tackles for loss. The turnovers they're very good. 0.78, that's 18th in the country. Interception, they have 9, which is 27th. So Auburn's would be in a position to win this ball game, but Vanderbilt beat them last year by double digits down on the Plains. I think it was 17-7. But Vanderbilt, they're trying to maintain this potential position in to reach the playoffs. They're, like I say, 7-2 in the conference. They still have to play Tennessee and Knoxville at the end of the season. So Vanderbilt is the favorite at 6.5 points, and Auburn just struggling. Auburn gives up 17 points a game, Vanderbilt 20. So it should be, you just don't know what's going to happen when a coach is fired, and is a team going to surrender, or are they going to just rally around this interim coach to see if maybe that person can be auditioning for the head coaching position. John Cohen said he's definitely going to be considered, DJ Durkin. So we'll discuss some of that in the last segment of the show. But right now, Auburn plays at Vanderbilt. It would have been the fourth time in a row if Hugh Freeze was a coach and Diego Pavia was a quarterback. He could have beat Hugh Freeze 4 times in a row. New Mexico State, when they played Auburn, New Mexico State when they played Liberty, and beat him at Auburn. It could have been 4 times in a row that Hugh Freeze suffered a defeat at the hands of Diego Pavia, the quarterback from Vanderbilt. But anyway, we'll be back to finish the rest of the games in the SEC. So we'll be right back after these messages with AP as we see it. Hi, I'm AP Stedham for Greer's Markets. If you're planning a big party or for every day, shop at Greer's for delicious food, beverages, and snacks. Save time and money by checking on Greers.com and use Groceries to Go to get your Greer's groceries delivered. Look at the weekly ad for more information. 29 locations in Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi, serving the region since 1916. Remember, Greer's got it. They guarantee it. Hi, I'm AP Stedham with Dr. Northcutt of Robertsdale Dental Care.
AP, not only do we offer basic full-service dental treatment, but I also have developed a niche within the practice where I provide comprehensive dental implant services, such as single implants, bone grafting, and full mouth reconstruction. I've been highly trained in those disciplines to offer comfortable and long-lasting solutions to major dental problems.
Come by and see Dr. Northcutt at Robertsdale Dental Care. And we're back with AP as we see it, and we're going to continue our discussion of the SEC games. We have 4 left on tap, but we also want to discuss some of the openings in college football, primarily in the SEC and some around the country as well. And the term fit, we want to discuss that overused term that people describe when they're looking to hire their next head football coach or a coach in general. Does that person fit? But anyway, let's continue with the game. The game 3 we have on the schedule here. Florida, 3-5, 2-3 in the conference, coming off a loss in Jacksonville to their arch rival, the Georgia Bulldogs. Great ball game, 24-20. They're traveling to Lexington, Kentucky. Kentucky 3-5. Kentucky 1-5 with their first conference win over Auburn, 10-3 at Auburn. Mark Stoops. I'm not sure if he's going to. I haven't seen any well-documented reports that he's going to step down, but maybe that's a possibility for Coach Stoops. He did great things at the University of Kentucky. He's the dean of coaches, been there quite a while now. Billy Gonzalez, the interim coach for the University of Florida. This series is 54-20 in favor of the Gators, University of Florida. Both teams score 22 points a game. Struggle on offense, 99th for Kentucky in the country, 95th for Florida. Defensively, Florida is 43rd in the country, Kentucky 65. Florida gives up 20 points a game, Kentucky 26. So they're favored by 3 points. The Gators are favored by 3 points. They're going on the road. And I guess because they gave Georgia a good ball game, I mean, you'd make them the favorite naturally, and plus the lopsidedness of the series itself. So that's game 3. Game 4, we have the Georgia Bulldogs, ranked number 5. They're a 7.5-point favorite as they travel to the tough out Mississippi State. Mississippi State won their first conference victory over Arkansas, 38-35. I believe that was on the road. Georgia, as we say, won against Florida in Jacksonville, 24-20. This series favors the Bulldogs of Georgia. It's the Bulldogs versus the Bulldogs, but the Georgia Bulldogs that won 21, lost 6 in this series. Georgia averaging 32, Mississippi State 33. Georgia surrenders 19 points, Mississippi State 24, but it's only a 7.5-point favorite because Mississippi State had played Tennessee. A tough ball game, was overtime. I was covered that ball game in Starkville. So they're playing in Starkville, and Jeff Levy's done a good job of reviving this program offensively and defensively. They have their moments. They're 12th in the country, Mississippi State, with 11 interceptions. Georgia's an interesting team defensively. The numbers are not good, but they can keep people out of the end zone. They're just giving up to 19 points, but they're 129th in the sacks, 133 in tackles for losses. But they find ways to win the ball game. As I said, they can score a lot of points and withhold the other team from overcoming them, or they can play a low-scoring game as well, as they did against Auburn, winning 20-10. But Georgia's good against the run, 15th in the country, 65th against the pass, 21st overall in the defense. But they don't have good numbers in the sacks and the tackles for loss category, and the turnovers as well, 89th, minus 2.5. So they do have some good numbers defensively in the run, pass, in the total defense, 15, 65, and 21. So it should be a good ball game over in Starkville, probably competitive, probably will be a competitive ball game. The next game is a warm-up game, really. It's Ole Miss. They're hosting the Citadel. The Citadel is 4-5, 3-3 in their conference. They won against Virginia Military Institute 35-24. This series, the first time they played, Ole Miss 8-1, 5-1 in the conference. Ole Miss is number 6 in the college football poll. They're coming off the win against South Carolina, 30-14. Ole Miss is obviously a big favorite. I don't even know the point spread. They might not even be on the board exactly, but Ole Miss needs to stay healthy. Maybe they can use both of their quarterbacks. Trinidad Chambliss, who's been sensational, the Division II transfer from Ferris State in Michigan. He's been very good. That was one of the best finds, I think, in the country with regards to the transfer portal. And then Austin Simmons, we know he has talent, a left-hander, smart, very smart. I think he's might be a graduate student at this point. He graduated from high school at a very young age. So maybe they can give him some playing time. I think that would be to Mississippi's advantage. And Lane Kiffin, he knows his quarterbacks, but I would say give him a couple quarters in this ball game to get in rhythm and have him prepared, because Trinidad Chambliss has been the story. It might be the story of the SEC, really, when you look at it. I would say Trinidad Chambliss has been one of the top stories in this conference. Maybe Ty Simpson, the veteran, stayed so long in Tuscaloosa, and he's been very successful, except that opening game against Florida State. But Trinidad Chambliss, coming from Division II and starring at Ole Miss and putting up big numbers game after game, very consistent, winning ball games. They're in a position to make the playoffs at Ole Miss. So I would say that's a possibility that Austin Simmons gets a lot of playing time in this ball game and keep everyone healthy against the Citadel. The last ball game we have on tap, Texas A&M, number 3 in the country, 8-0, undefeated, 5-0 within the conference, traveling to Columbia, Missouri, Como, to take on the Mizzou Tigers, 6-2, 2-2 in the conference. They're number 22 in the college football poll. This series favors Texas A&M just slightly, 10-7. Mike Elko's done a great job with his team. The second year, Marcel Reed has been very good for the Texas A&M Aggies. He's really, when I watched him play against LSU and Baton Rouge, he throws that ball with an authority, and there's no hesitation when he's in that at that quarterback position. And then when he takes off, very difficult to catch. He's elusive. He's fast. He has quickness. So very impressive. Offensively, they're balanced, 200 yards rushing, 259 yards passing for the Aggies, 19th in the country, 459 yards. Mizzou has an excellent balanced offense as well, 235 yards rushing, 10th in the country, 237 yards passing, 58th, 472 yards a game. That's 14th in the country. Defensively, Mizzou, 5th in the country, allowing over 245 yards, 13th and 7th in the rushing and the pass defense, 13 and 7 in the country. Outstanding. Texas A&M, very intriguing defense. 33rd in the country rush defense, 44th in the pass defense, 31st overall. They've given up 40-plus points on the road to Arkansas and Notre Dame as well, both wins, because that offense is prolific. And I asked Coach Elko about that, being on the road and surrendering to 40 points. He said maybe the crowd has something to do with it. It energizes the home team, but they get surrendered 26 points a game. Mizzou only 16 points a game. Texas A&M scores 37 points a game. Mizzou 35. So this is going to be quite the ball game. Mizzou is trying to hold on to their college football playoff chances because they need to win this game. They lost to Alabama and Vanderbilt, and those were both on the road. So they were both coming off byes, had plenty of time to dissect and research the other team. 7.5 favorite for the Aggies. So people should watch this ball game. Matt Zollers is the quarterback, the freshman quarterback, 20 of 29, 213 yards, 2 TDs, no interceptions. Good quarterback, good-looking quarterback. I think he'll do fine. He had the week off to get prepared. Now we want to just check in the about the head coaches around the country. The SEC, the openings, Arkansas, Auburn, Florida, LSU. I don't know, possibly Kentucky. We'll see. But I want to bring up that word fit. People use that term to describe when you hire a coach, they must fit. Well, who fit better in Louisiana at LSU than Ed Orgeron? His personality, the native of the state, a Cajun from the state of Louisiana. And when he was winning, everything was fine. That team in 2019 was sensational, one of the best of all time. 60 touchdowns by Joe Burrow. I don't know if that ever be duplicated. Had those receivers, running back, just enough defense to win ball games, but that offense put up 50 points by halftime. I mean, they were just great. So to use that word fit, what does that mean? If you win ball games, you will fit in anywhere. Okay, if you're a native son or returning to your alma mater, they'll probably give you an extra year, maybe two at the most. But if you don't win, you don't fit. So people throw that term around and say, well, Brian Kelly didn't fit in Louisiana. Well, he beat up Alabama that, early in his coaching career and tenure at the LSU, and he was fine. But he didn't win enough ball games. And they're looking to win national championships there, especially with this 12-team playoff berth situation. You can lose a couple ball games, but he'd already lost those big loss to A&M there. So they were out of contention and they weren't satisfied, and it was his 4th year. So they chose to make the change, and then that people right away, they piled on about he didn't fit. Well, yeah, he didn't win. Okay. Fit has 3 letters, win has 3 letters. But I'm looking at the WIN, that word specifically. The FIT, that's they make an excuse for somebody who didn't fit. People come from all over this country. They're good football coaches everywhere. On the national scale, there's still openings. Penn State, Stanford, Oklahoma State, Virginia Tech, UCLA, Oregon State, Colorado State, UAB, and Kent State, they named the interim coach the head coach. But anyway, James Franklin, interesting case. He wins enough games, but he can't beat some of the powers. But if you're looking for somebody that could probably win you 10 games a year, a couple losses, you will be in contention in this day and age of college football to be in the playoffs. So keep that name in mind. He'd be a good choice for someone because he's won in the SEC, won in the Big Ten. But anyway, that's this episode of AP as we see it. So thank you, and we'll be back next week with AP as we see it. Thank you very much. Hi, I'm AP Stedham for Greer's Markets. If you're planning a big party or for every day, shop at Greer's for delicious food, beverages, and snacks. Save time and money by checking on Greers.com and use Groceries to Go to get your Greer's groceries delivered. Look at the weekly ad for more information. 29 locations in Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi, serving the region since 1916. Remember, Greer's got it. They guarantee it.